Hello and welcome to Piano Shack with me, Woody. That was, of course, the fabulous Chic, and you have been hearing the sounds of KONTAKT 5 Player by Native Instruments. This was the included band sample library. Let's see what else is included. Okay, so I cannot assume that everybody knows what KONTAKT is, so let's take a look at the Native Instruments webpage here. So it's a free sample player based on KONTAKT 5. KONTAKT 5 you can purchase separately, but that's about €300. It's also included in the Komplete bundles. But in this free version, we get KONTAKT 5 Player. Production ready sample library included, that's what you just heard. It hosts a huge selection of Native Instruments and third-party libraries. This is the industry standard sample player. And I would agree with that based on some research that I've done and just my experiences over the years. This seems to be the industry standard sample player. But this is a free application that runs all Native Instruments KONTAKT instruments, as well as third-party products made for the platform. Yes, maybe. Free sound library, KONTAKT Factory Selection. Make sure you download the free KONTAKT Factory Selection containing 50 premium instruments for KONTAKT 5 Player. This includes smaller weight versions of some of the amazing instruments from KONTAKT's band, synth, urban beats, vintage and world libraries. You just heard the band instrument there when we did the Chic cover. KONTAKT is the driving force behind a huge range of Native Instruments products. Yes, many of the Native Instruments VST instruments are built on top of KONTAKT, or they use the KONTAKT engine. All of NI's KONTAKT instruments run in the free KONTAKT player. That's really good and do not require the full version of the software. You can see example there. We've got some woodwinds, drums I can see. There's a piano, various piano libraries. Third-party instruments. Many third-party instruments made for KONTAKT player are NKS ready, whatever that means. Okay, you can see that there. Now, I wouldn't totally agree with this. I've been researching some third-party plugins, and all of the ones that I've checked so far required the full version of KONTAKT, the €300 version of KONTAKT, so be a little bit wary about that. But it was nice to see that all of Native Instruments' own sample libraries are compatible with the player. Okay, so I've pulled up an instance of KONTAKT Player here. You can see the included factory selection sample library. Band is what we just listened to. Let's take a look and see what you get. The basses I thought were really nice, as you heard yourself. Let's have a look at the clavinet. So it's the same user interface or similar for all of these instruments that are included in Band. Let me play a bit of the clavinet for you. Really realistic sounds there, actually. Sounds very authentic to me, as it should, because this is a sample of a real clavinet. I like how you can adjust the sound of the instruments. And in fact, I noticed that many of these instruments have controls that are applicable for that instrument. So if you pull up the guitar, for example, you can change the pickup positions, which is pretty nice. And you can see there's a bunch of quite relevant parameters here that we can adjust, but we need to go quite quickly through this, so let's not dwell on this. One thing that was interesting to me is that this is almost like a DAW inside your DAW. This is a complete multi-track environment here. Let me show you what I mean. We can pull up a few different sounds. Let's take the organ. And that loads into this rack here. So now we have two instruments playing, and by default, they are assigned to different MIDI channels. So this is like a multi-timbral plugin. Let's pull up the trumpet. That was quite nice. The drums you already heard. Got a rock guitar and the upright bass. That was kind of nice as well. So on my MIDI controller now, I'm on MIDI channel 1. So we get the clavinet. If I change to MIDI channel 2, then hopefully, yeah, we get the organ. And again, if we look at the organ, there are some sounds that are applicable for the organ itself. So we can switch on the vibrato chorus, percussion on and off, adjust the sound. And you're not getting any control over the drawbars here. This is just a sample, probably a sample, I would imagine, of Native Instruments' own emulation, the B4 I think it's called. And every single instrument we have here in the rack has its own effects also. You can adjust reverb, for example, on each one. Let me see if we can do that for you. There we go, and a variety of different reverb types as well, so it's pretty cool. Normally in Reaper I'd add my own external effects, but it's interesting that you can do it all within the Kontakt player. What else did we have? If I change to MIDI channel 3 then, there's your trumpet sound. Let's see what we can adjust there. It's really nice, isn't it? What can we adjust? Don't know what this is. Interesting harmonizations as well. The sound we can adjust. Let's switch that off. It's really cool. I don't know what it's doing there. If it's changing the synthesized parameters or switching between samples. I have no idea what it's doing under the hood. Sounds like a flute. I got to say, I'm not noticing much dynamics here. If I'm playing softly, you get this. If I play hard, you get this. It's the same. So it's a little bit disappointing in that regard if you compare it to the Motif synthesizers I've played and the Roland FA, which respond really well to the dynamics and how you play the keyboard. This thing is pretty much just a static sample by the sounds of it. And finally, we had the acoustic bass down the bottom here. Really nice. What can we do there? Okay. It adjusts the sustain. You can increase or decrease the pick noises. I think that's what it's doing. Tone. Dulling it down. So that's an overview of what you can do with this band instrument then. As maybe I should mention as well, it's kind of interesting. Each of these instruments in the rack, you can adjust, of course, the pan position. You can mute and solo it when you're playing in a complete arrangement. The volume here, you can adjust up and down independently as well. And of course, you can adjust things like MIDI channel. So it's really good in that respect. It's a little digital audio workstation within Reaper. I was disappointed with the included piano sounds. Let's just say I think that Native Instruments really are trying to encourage you here to upgrade to one of the paid versions, because they're throwing in here what do we have? An electric piano there that sounded rather synthetic to me, nothing like a Rhodes. And then we get this ragtime piano. And come on, who uses a ragtime piano in pop music? I think they're just trying to cover up the fact that it's a really poor recreation of a piano with a very limited sample size. We can open it actually if you want to take a listen. So that's come in. There we go. Right at the bottom here, there's absolutely zero dynamics. It doesn't make any difference if I play softly or loudly. Yeah. Okay, so that was the band library. What else do you get? Okay, let me just clear the rack here. It's rather annoying. It prompts you to save changes every time you close something, because I've tweaked some of these. I suppose in some ways that's good if you don't want to lose your changes, but for me it's rather annoying. Okay, synth then. What do we have here? Now, I'm not a big fan of sampled analog synthesizers. I'd rather use a virtual analog software emulation instead, but I'll just play a couple of these for you. So a slightly different interface now. That's a bit boring, isn't it? Okay, it sounds good. That sounds good. Let's take two more and then we'll move on to the next category, suburban. What's that? Down the bottom here. Synth drums. Okay. Okay, interesting. I'm playing the bottom half of my keyboard and I'm just getting drum hits. You can see here as well if I point with my mouse. The selected drum is changing as I play it on the keyboard, and we can... Oh shit, what did I just do there? I dragged and dropped the position. Should be able to adjust some of the parameters. I'm not hearing any difference there as I'm adjusting it. But on the top half of the keyboard we have some drum breaks as well, which is nice. Here we go. So that was an unexpected bonus. Let's take one more, shall we? Let's take a nice pad. Which one should we take? Let's take the first one, shall we? So, scroll down. That's coming at the bottom there. A pretty nice sound actually, but I would say that that filter sounds a little bit uninspiring to me. And once again we can adjust a lot of the controls here and change the effects as well. So let's move on to the next category. Okay, urban beats, what's that all about? So we have 5 different presets here. Let's take the first one, shall we? And I'm just going to play a bit on the keyboard. Let's experiment and see what happens. I have tried this out once, but very, very briefly, so we'll learn about this one together, I think. So again, on the lower part of the keyboard, I'm getting the drum hits. And on the right hand side, there'll be more pre-programmed rhythm patterns. Let's take a listen to those. So as I'm playing the different notes, I can see the faders jumping up and down. So you get different mixes of the pattern. That's really cool. I like that. And Native Instruments are rather good at doing drum beats, contemporary drum sounds and things. Should we take one more? Why not take one at random? The green one sounds interesting. different MIDI channels, so let me change there. So we have different hits now. And the patterns. Yeah, that's really rocking. Let's try one more. I'm enjoying this. Choral. Sounds like this. Let's just do some of the patterns for you, eh? Let's take a look at the vintage section here then. So it looks like we have a bunch of vintage synthesizers here that are sampled. Let's take a couple here at random. So yeah, of course you can mix and match different ones. I've got the beats here and we have interesting interface here. I think that urban beats might be worth a separate video. It looks pretty deep to me. I can see, for example, that we can edit the pattern here. Just something I pulled up at random there. This is the FM Lately bass. Let's take one more, shall we? Or a couple more. A mini moog sound here. We have very nice. A nice recreation of a vintage string machine there. Anything else that catches our eyes? We have drum machines here as well. Similar configuration as before. Got hits at the bottom. If I change to the right MIDI channel. And also some nice pre-programmed patterns so we can instantly get jamming. I like it. It's a familiar vintage drum sound, isn't it? So yeah, pretty cool. We have another piano here. We can try some vintage piano. Right, why don't we take a listen to the world sounds just to finish off here. Let me close these windows. So again, I'll just take a few at random here. We can't play them all, obviously. You can hear they're nice effects. Let's adjust this to make it even more wet. What else do we have? Anything else take our fancy here? This is a classic sound. Very beautiful. But again, absolutely no difference whatsoever if I play at different dynamics, which is a bit of a shame. So it's not velocity sensitive at all, this. It does sound good though. Why don't we listen to these pipes to finish off with then? Bagpipes at their very, very worst. So that was the high-level overview of Kontakt 5 player. This is a pretty deep instrument with lots and lots of sounds, so it was quite hard for me to cover everything today, but I hope you got an idea of what it can do and what it can't do. Join me again next time when we dig into guitar rig players. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Cheerio.